Hello everyone, Groskamp here again, and today I'm gonna start building the IF18.2, and my plan is to do a couple of videos where I explain all the ins and outs to build a car. I will show you how I build. I will build it completely stock. I will not use any option parts. I will go through the manual and again, I want to show you how I build it, where I'm looking for, where I have to make tweaks in the car, or I have to use a little bit here and there, some sandpaper, or make it more smooth or not. This is a full color manual from Infinity, super nice. So I just go through the manual and just follow me. So here we are. Check the manual, and we will start with back A, and back A is the beginning of the front suspension. So I will need a chassis and bulkhead. So let's start. Let's open back A, check everything what's inside. Here's the manual, start of the manual. So all the parts from back A are on the table, and the first thing I will do is prepare the pulley on the one way. Make sure this is smooth, all the plastic is away. Take the one way, take the pulley, other side of the pulley. Make sure the smooth side is inside. And now the trick comes. This is the special clip. For this clip you need a tool with a very small bit that you can push it in. Now you can put the bearings on. I don't grease or clean the bearings for now, just put them in. They're already super smooth, and they already have grease inside, so it's good for the shakedown. They're like this. Now I will put the bulkheads on the chassis. Oh, they're both the same, so there's no left and right. It's a 2.5. Okay, put in a one way with the belt. This again, no left or right, so don't have to think about it. To hold the one way plastic centrics, there's also screws here to stop it from going out. That was back A. The build of back B. So the build of the front pulley is quite straightforward. Make sure the plastic is cut off nicely so it's smooth, goes in smooth. Bearings don't have to clean out. So we'll start with the big pulley, the outside. Take a plier for this, click, this goes in. Now the opposite side. This have a little bit of play. You can always add a 0.2 shim on the inside, or both 0.1, 0.1 to minimize the play. So now mount the pulleys on the chassis and keep the screw a little bit loose so you can set the belt tension. Usually the front belt I use quite tight. For me this is a good tension. The build of back C. All parts spread out back C. Mount a lower front arm plate like this, and do that on the opposite side. Mount the ball screw on the ball end, about 6.5. Click the roll bar adjuster in the arm. Tight it here and tight it till the ball can move freely but have minimum play. Now mounting the downslope stopper with a Z screw here and mount it on the arm. Default setting for downslope screw about 3.8 mm. For now, keep this bit a little bit loose. After the suspension pin goes in, you can tighten it gently. For the suspension pin position, I use the inner hole. Now it's time to mount the front suspension on the front bulkhead of the car. First tighten it gently and check if the suspension arm can work freely. So make sure both sides are working freely and tighten this bit a little bit and still make sure it's smooth. Now install the turnbuckle. Take a 2 mm wrench and keep a distance from about 1.5 mm. Now I will apply the front suspension bushing and I will add a little bit of SMJ ultra joint grease. Put it a little bit on the thread of the turnbuckle. So now put the front bushing and you screw it in anti-clockwise. When it goes more tight, take a 2 mm wrench and hold the turnbuckle. The front bushing setting is approximately 2.8 mm. For fine adjusting, you can use a 2 mm wrench and make a slight angle like this. This is the assembly of the front knuckle. The ball inside. Tight till it's free, but no play. This is the assembly of the front knuckle. Take the screw with a 1.5 and put it on the back side first. Now take the steering knuckle and mount it like this and make sure it's in the middle. Take a washer and a nut and tight gently. The position of the front upper part can be forward, backwards and in the middle. For this I use the middle as a default setting. Now the assembly of the steering block. Put a carbon piece, take a screw and tighten it gently. Now mount the ball stud. Now the assembly of the front drive shaft. Take a little bit of SMJ ultra joint grease. Always check if it's free and smooth. Now install the drive shaft to the steering block. Normally one shim inside, bearing, the other bearing, and it's filled up with 2 shims. Check if it runs free. Now the assembly of the fast wheel click system. First install the M3 screw. Install it like this. Hold it with your thumb. And push it in. Now take a 1.5 and check if the system works. Now take the pin When the pin is in, don't forget to tighten the set screw. That's also done. Now the assembly of the lower part of the front suspension. Install the flange bolt from the bottom and you can push it in. Now take 2mm and the special shim you have to check falls in. Note the direction. Now install the set screw, tight it till it's free but without play. Now the assembly of the upper front arm. First push the bushing in, and for my default setup I use the second hole from the top. Now put the set screw in, so later on you can tighten the upper suspension pin. Put the pin in, take the arm, make sure the flat spot is here, so after you can tighten the set screw. The default setting for the caster clip is a 1mm caster clip behind and 2 of 1mm, so 2mm total in the front. Now tighten the set screw. Now it's tight, so make sure the arm works freely. That was the front upper arm. Now mount the front upper arm by using a 6mm M3 and attach to the bulkhead. Now the assembly of the front steering block onto the suspension. Put in the front joint cup into the one-way and now attach the steering block and tight both screws very well. So now as you can see I already mounted the front steering block, but now it's impossible to get the pivot ball in, but there's a new solution with a new front end. You take a 3mm hex and you can take it out like this. Now you first put the pivot ball on the top, put some grease on the drive shaft pins, install the drive shaft in the joint cup and mount back the steering block. And it's ready. Make sure that your bushing is in a 90 degree with the steering block and adjust this when you adjust the caster. Let the suspension be as free as this. Now the assembly of the front roll bar. First put the set screw inside the anti-roll bar ball. Before you put it inside the ball end, the most easiest way is to remove the upper arm. Take a plier and make sure that the anti-roll bar ball is working free. Install the set screw on the anti-roll bar stopper. Take one stopper and hold it on the roll bar. And now you can put the rest of the parts on top. So bearing, plastic, bearing and stopper. Untie the stopper and put the anti-roll bar in the bulkhead. Tie the anti-roll bar and now adjust the play on the bulkhead. Make sure the roll bar is in the middle, so now you can tighten the stopper. Check the play and you need a minimum play, and now you can tighten the roll bar ball and make sure it doesn't touch the drive shaft. Check if it runs free and it have enough play. Adjust the anti-roll bar ball that the number from the thickness of the roll bar is on the downside. Now check again if everything works free. Now the assembly of the steering rod and the servo saver. First, make sure the surface of the ball end is smooth. Cut it off with a Sharpie. Tight the ball end on the steering rod and use a turnbuckle tool for that to hold it. Adjust the steering link that's about 43.8 mm. If you think the ball end goes a little bit too much tight on the steering rod, you can also use a screw first, so it makes it a little bit bigger. Make sure both steering linkage are the same length. Now the assembly of the servo saver. Take the two pieces like this. Take the aluminium piece and note that the flat side goes in. Now put bearing, put the spring, put the O-ring inside the nut. Now tie the spring. And the initial setting is about 4.8 mm. Use a 2 mm shim for the right bump steer. Don't over tie too much, otherwise the plastic will crack. For the servo saver, I highly recommend you to use aluminium. And this piece can be also obtained from carbon with different Ackerman setting as well. Initial setup for the Ackerman is in the middle position. Now fit the short ball end that goes later to the servo linkage. Push the steering linkage on the ball end and make sure it's free. Don't forget to put the bearing first and install the servo saver now. And now put the steering rod on the steering block and make sure it is smooth. So this was the assembly of the front end. I hope you like the front end. It looks really beautiful. And in the next videos I will show you the rest of the car.